Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I am designing more stickers. I love doing this process and I've been trying to figure out why exactly that is. As strange as that sounds, I think it's very important for me to make sure that I think about why I enjoy certain things so that I can maximize how I find that in other avenues of art. But this one, I was talking a little bit with someone on Patreon, one of my patrons, thank you very much, about how I wanted to have more ideas for what stickers to do, and we're talking more about doing objects, things that are not characters. And it really clicked that that's one of the things that I think made it really easy to enjoy the process of designing this sticker and the other two that are in the series, which I will touch on in a little bit about how you can actually see those. But I realized that that was a big deal, that I loved that it was not something that I'm constantly working on and constantly trying to figure out how to make look good. It was just totally divorced from that. It was completely unique as far as how I like to work, working on things and stuff that just look cool. And I love that. I love the design challenge of being able to just sit down and make something that looks cool. And with people, there's so many things that you have to get right. You have to make sure that the anatomy is correct, that the facial features are correct, that they have the right mood that you want, that their facial expression is the way that you want. And pretty much never have I ever been satisfied with what I have there. And there's always this pressure, so much pressure of making sure that the person looks good and looks the way that it should. But when it comes to things like bottles and potions, it completely frees me up from those expectations and those requirements that I normally bind myself with. And it just releases a lot more creativity for me than I'm used to. So it was just really fun to be able to sit down and sketch this one out and just work with the idea and throw some things down. And I mean, it's not even that unique of a concept at all, but it was just really, it got me thinking about ways of attacking things and the silhouette and the color and the impact that that was going to have, and the way that I could mirror different shapes and different silhouettes again in different objects throughout this piece. And it's kind of eye-opening, I guess, in a way, because when I was working on this piece, all of those things that I enjoyed paying attention to, that I was really excited about, those are certainly things that should be focused on and I should be excited about when I'm drawing people. But somehow it kind of gets on the back burner, I've realized, really focusing on the design and the concept and the silhouette and separating it from what it needs to be when I'm trying to tie in all these human aspects. It surprised me that I let myself get so far away from these core things that make really good art, but also that I really love thinking about. So I need to figure out exactly at what point in the process when I'm drawing people, at what point do I stop focusing on these things? At what point do I just let myself get more stressed out rather than enjoying it? And I think that that's the key to me being able to create everything that's better. And I know that this video, it's funny that I'm talking about drawing people when I'm literally not drawing people at all, but that's where my mind went a lot when I was looking back at this one and trying to keep stock of why I loved it so much, because it was really, I know I keep saying that, but it was really fun working on these stickers. And I think one of the things that just really makes me excited about this kind of stuff is that I wouldn't say force, but it allows me an avenue to really focus on the storytelling aspect of it in this very concise way. And I love that. I love working on things that have more of a story to it. And when it's something like a very simple object, it only takes a couple of little hints and then there's a story there. And they have to be thought through. I have to make sure that I'm thinking about it and that I'm putting these details in, or else it'll be very simple and uninspiring for me personally. So I guess when I look at it, it doesn't take a lot of thinking for it to be something that I am excited about and I think is interesting. But somehow when I'm working on illustrations, things that are a little bit bigger or they have characters in them, that gets pushed back a little bit. I don't put in as much time to think about it, even though I want to. So this is kind of making me refocus on what exactly it takes to tell a story in my pieces that I like. But let's go ahead and talk about the design of this piece. So it's actually the third in the series, so there'll be 3 stickers available. And if you would like to watch the process videos of the other 2 in the series, I have those exclusively on my Patreon. There's a link down in the description that can take you over there where you can check it out for all of the $5 and above tiers. But the first 2 that I did actually ended up having some form of body parts in them, and that was a little bit of not an accident, but it wasn't really thought out that all 3 of them would have one until I had designed the second one. I thought, oh, that's kind of fun. Well, for the third one, I should make sure that I follow that trend and do another bottle that has that in it, that has that design element. And I actually really loved once I got all 3 of them together and they had that little cornerstone that brought them all together. But for this bottle, I had done 2 different shapes the first time, and I was looking at a bunch of photos of bottle shapes, which somehow ends up being something that I look up a lot when I'm working on my artwork. But I loved these vial shaped ones where they were just long and thin and straight. I think that they just looked really clinical almost, and I wanted to do something that had a tooth in it. That was the final body part type thing that I would have in it. And originally I was sketching out where it was just like a molar and normal canines, but I decided that I wanted it to push it farther. I wanted it to be more fantastical. So it ended up being more like a vampire tooth or a monster tooth. And that starts developing more and more as I'm working on this piece, which is probably one of my favorite parts of working digitally, is that I can tweak it all along the process to make it into the concept that I want it to be. And pretty frequently when I'm working on a piece, I get more ideas on how I want to change it and add to it and enhance it as I'm working on the piece. And to be able to add that in is really nice. But for this, where it started off, or it ended up being a vampire type tooth. I won't say it's a vampire tooth specifically, because it could be several of them in my mind at least. But as I was working on it, I start to incorporate more elements that reinforce that type of a monster, more of this nocturnal monster. But I end up adding blood that's in the vial that's on the tooth and sinking below what's in most of the vial, which is one of the details that I really loved painting in this one. And I don't know if it's quite as clearly visible as I'd like, but I wanted it to look kind of like when you have oil and vinegar together and they separate. And I wanted this to look like a layered look. I wanted the blood at the bottom and then to have the main vial liquid at the top. And then I also wanted the blood leaking out of the top. And I go through a lot of different color variations for this one, where initially I had the idea of it being blood and I liked that. But as I was working on it, I was worried that it was just a little bit too gruesome, which I don't really think it is, because I end up going back to that. But I did kind of weave my way around that concept a little bit, but I finally came back to that, letting it be what I wanted it to be. But there was that detail, and eventually I end up adding a crescent moon onto the band that's tied at the top. I always intended there to be something there that was meant to hint at what was inside of the bottle, the potion or the effect that it had. And it was actually not till the very, very end that I really addressed that, and I decided just to put a little emblem on there that I like, that it was something that wasn't quite on the nose. It's a little bit subtle, and it could tie into a werewolf or a vampire or really anything else that kind of falls into that realm of creature. So those basically 3 details tied together and create more of a story behind it. And it was just really fun to be able to think from one to the next and add and add and add. Because at the very beginning, I was not planning on it being this monster type tooth. So to finally end up with a concept that was more cohesive and it had several ties to it, it felt really good to accomplish that and that concept and to have it tie well with the other 2 stickers as well. And that is it for today. I do have a link in the description that'll take you to my Patreon so you can watch those 2 other process videos for the other 2 stickers in the set. I also have a link in the description that'll take you to my art shop, to the listing where I have all 3 of them listed, as well as a set of all 3 for a discount. And these are all vinyl stickers, by the way, so they're nice, good quality. But that's it for today. So I will be seeing you guys on Saturday with my next video, which will be a mermaid piece. I'm really excited about it, actually. So that's it. I'll see you then with more watercolors, and thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you on Saturday.